Da, 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 da. Hello! Ha! All right, so we are here on our final Gilman live show. We had our classes, and now we're kind of going over kind of a retroactive looking back at the whole thing and all my studies. I'm going to go through a little review of each of my items on my main study list film and then my additional list. Brief review on that. We've got some call-ins. We've got a song, Creature from the Black Lagoon, The Gill Man. Beside me is Royce Hobson. He comes in on the final episodes of each one of our monsters. The last monster we had done, the only monster we had done prior to this is Frankenstein. And so he was here for that. And then Alyssa Lauer.
Come over.
Come on over.
Come on there.
She'll be following all your questions and getting them all answered as best we can. So good times all around. Just to kind of tell you guys, if you don't know what House of Horrors is, this is tea, by the way. He's not quite that fancy. And this is not vodka.
No, it's not.
All right, so kind of to fill you in on what this all is the next big project that I plan to do is called House of Horrors, which is a monster mashup. Frankenstein, Wolfman, Dracula, or Frankenstein's monster for that matter, the Mummy. We're kind of mixing up all the monsters, having them kind of take on each other, a little Game of Thrones action. They all have their own plans. But to do that, I want to thoroughly research each monster. One, to see what had been done in the past before, so not to mimic something that's already been done. And then also just to put in a lot of nuances to things I want to show and kind of nerd out on so that the bigger fans of each monster could pick up on all the little things. And then at the same time, just learn as much as I can. I enjoy it. And it's going to take about a year before the production is on a go, green light. So I got lots of time to do this. And so I wanted to keep you guys interactive with my process. And we're on our second monster. I don't know how many there's going to be total, less than 10, but up there. And we are dealing with the Gill Man, Creature from the Black Lagoon. If you want to follow my studies, you can, on my Facebook page, I have a note called House of Horrors Research, which actually has a listing of all the live shows and when they come on every time. We only do it every time we start a new monster. And then all the studies that I do, if you actually want to study and watch these things and follow along with me, and then you can actually comment questions and stuff, and I will answer them, and they'll be a little bit more technical than our norm. So that being said, there's been 3 live shows on the Gill Man prior.
I think it's been 3. Yeah.
3 live shows prior. The 4th one is our final. To kind of sum up what we've learned and talk about that, if you're on the Facebook chat, which is in the Darkstone Entertainment group, if you comment on this link, we'll answer your questions there. And sometimes YouTube, but we don't get to YouTube as often. So that if we want you to primarily comment on the Darkstone group underneath this video. So we got a couple questions that were carried over, and what we'll do is I'm going to go through each thing on my list, and we're going to take a question, and we're going to go back and forth on that for a little while. So first thing on my list so far as the Gill Man is concerned.
All right.
I believe it is Creature from the Black Lagoon.
It is.
So Creature from the Black Lagoon, the original film in the 50s, obviously considered one of the Universal monster classics, even though there were tons of monster movies that they did, but for some reason it was iconic enough that it would come in. I enjoyed the film immensely. I definitely think the scene of the underwater, him swimming up towards her as she's going across, was one of the, I think, biggest cinematic moments in horror movie history. It was definitely one of the top. So that was really cool. And I enjoyed it. There was a lot of, it stands out a lot from the other Universal movies because most of those were shot in the 30s and 40s, and this was the 50s. So film had just changed dramatically from then to then. But also the script writing and the characters and the outlook on that. We're going to get a little bit more into that later. But that is the first movie I watched, and this is my little brief description. So let's take a question.
Slacking.
She was slacking. And
Looking at other things.
You looking at your Facebook.
I was.
she's watching other live shows.
Okay, old business.
Old business. Oh, these are old
these are the
questions
older
from the
questions.
last show.
Yes. Milos Bucarica.
Bucarica.
What current monsters do you think will become classics in the next 50 years?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Well, there is another generation of the slasher film generation with Freddy Krueger, Chucky, Michael Myers, Jason. That's kind of like that next generation of, they're not universal monsters, just more famous monsters.
In their own right, they're already kind of pop classic.
Now they are, yeah. Those
cemented in.
I'm sure we're gonna have another generation of that with Pinhead and all of those guys, because you kind of have the universal classic guys and then those guys in like the kind of new age, late 70s to early 90s horror. I'm not sure we're getting right now. It's a lot of there isn't so much creature features going on right now. They're more like groups of stuff. Like even the shark thing, it was like where is it where it rains sharks? Sharknado. It's all about a group of sharks, or zombies. Walking Dead, it's all about a group of zombies. Yeah. Not so much like an individual creature that has a face. I mean, there's some, but they haven't quite exploded. I think once the new world of cinema, which is obviously online, once that settles and people know and can go, like, because everybody right now is getting their material from many different places. Before, we always went to the video store or the movie theater. That's pretty much where you got your stuff, or like, you know, HBO cable. Now it's kind of mixed up where people are getting it kind of from everywhere. And once things become a little bit more unified and something can become transcendent, I think that's when the new age of horror will start. That's my guess.
I'm trying to think of anything like we've watched recently. Would there be any kind of like new monster or creature that really stands out? Like, ooh, I would like to see more movies of that particular.
Yeah,
creature. And I really can't think of it.
No. I mean, most of the stuff is a new take on zombie. Like, zombie is the most popular monster that's going on right now, next to Ghost. Ghost is really kind of ticking off a lot, mainly because I think you can do more PG-13 stuff with ghosts than you can with zombies. But not so much like an entity. Like, you have like the Wreck zombies and the Walking Dead zombies, and how they're different from each other.
What about Penny Dreadful? It looks like they're going to explore Elizabeth Bathory, which is somebody that we don't ever see on anything.
Yeah, Elizabeth Bathory.
That's exciting.
That was actually.
That's what I think it is.
Yeah. They're essentially, Penny Dreadful was something that happened after I started the House of Horrors line, and they really are kind of doing the same idea of what I'm doing. They're doing it more about the stories themselves being all happening at the same time in a period piece, where mine is a little bit more retroactive about the monsters today, looking back at their lives, or lack thereof. But yeah, Elizabeth Bathory, I mean, there could be a start of these things. Dexter was a serial killer that became very, very popular. And I'm sure we'll end up on a lot of those. You can kind of tell how iconic the monster is when you start seeing fan art of a group of monsters, and you'll see like if that face reappears in multiple stuff. That's kind of how the easiest way that I figured it out, where you're just like, oh, they've become iconic. Well, not in just one, but you see it in like 10. Like every time you look up monsters, that face is there. All right, what was the second movie?
Second movie was Creature, 2011.
Oh yeah, this was.
I didn't watch this with you. I have no idea.
No, this was it was decent. It was very low budget. The one thing about, for some reason, I was a little spoiled with Frankenstein because I was obviously the first monster that's based on a literary figure, and the movies are a little bit more. They're just good, like, or stronger. There are some bad ones, obviously, but they put more into it. Where with the Gill Man, it was all about the B movie, like more than like a literary figure, because there was none for the Creature from the Black Lagoon. It's just invented. And so, but for some reason, these movies really got into just being bad. Like that seemed to be almost what people wanted, I guess, because there's so many of them, and they're rarely good. Creature was one of the better of the group. Kind of a little bit of a ridiculous concept, but it was cool seeing Sid Haig playing a larger role versus a cameo. And he was pretty decent in it. Like, he actually got to show more than just one note, which was nice. But out of the movies, I would definitely recommend Creature from the Black Lagoon over Creature. I think it was like an Alligator Man was the Creature from 2011, but it was okay. All right, next question.
Stephen Haar, who, by the way, has an awesome profile picture.
Is it the Plan 9 poster?
Plan 9 poster.
Thank you, Stephen. That's very cool.
What are your thoughts on Phantom of the Mall, Eric's Revenge?
I have never seen that. Phantom of the Mall? Is Eric, what happened to Eric? I'm intrigued now because he's obviously seeking revenge, so something bad happened to Eric. I have not seen that, but I will check it out. I don't know. I guess it's a Phantom of the Opera is the monster that I will not be doing Phantom. That's not one of the monsters, just because, one, I don't think he could really stand up to a lot of them in a room. But also, I'm doing, dealing with a lot of immortal characters that were alive in the 1800s when their main story was told, but then also coming. Have you seen Phantom of the Mall?
No, I haven't.
All right, so what's our next movie?
Swamp Thing.
Swamp Thing.
Yes.
The first one. This was the Wes Craven film. It was great. I grew up on it. It's it's a little ridiculous, of course, at times, especially the ending. But it's fun. It was a fun, interesting thing. Like every one of the Universal monsters, in one way or another, has been turned into a superhero of some kind. Frankenstein, obviously, the DC comic Frankenstein, Agent of Shade, turns the Frankenstein monster into a superhero, and I think even Dean Koontz, his novels turn Frankenstein into a kind of a hero. So there's a superhero version of each one, and Swamp Thing is basically the Creature from the Black Lagoon. Different origin story. Each one of these things have a different origin story because there's no literary work that they're basing it on, so they're kind of everywhere. Swamp Thing was plant cells that was supposed to regenerate life, and animal cells kind of mixed together, and they got thrown on him. He caught fire, and he jumped into a swamp, and so the swamp and all the cells made him Swamp Thing. I think that was the origin story. I could be a little off on that, but I think that's basically it. But no, it was a good, fun movie. It was one of Wes Craven's, Adrienne Barbeau. My God. And yeah, no, I enjoyed it. It was fun. It was definitely nostalgic because that was an old one for me. All right, next question.
Stephen Haar.
Steven.
Will these classic Universal horror icons still be remembered in, say, 50 years from now?
Oh, I think so. I mean, the Universal monsters will probably be around forever, just not so much about the movies. I don't think the movies will, but they're pop culture icons. Creature from the Black Lagoon probably made more money off of toys and action figures and things of that nature than the movie did. Like, I think, honestly, his pop culture stuff makes tons more money than the films did. Because not that many people are watching Creature from the Black Lagoon, but a lot of people are buying little stuffed animals and action figures, paintings, stuff like that. So I think they've almost transcended into pop culture icons more so than the movies did. So I definitely think they'll be around and used over and over again.
Swamp Thing definitely had a hand in that, especially merchandising.
Oh, sure.
Cartoon action figures were hitting.
No, they went crazy with that. All right, next movie.
Next movie is Revenge of the Creature.
The second one. This was an interesting one because you could kind of see where a lot of movies were based off of it. The Jaws series being huge. Even the first Creature movie, the score does the dun 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 dun, which John Williams did. And then Revenge of the Creature and Jaws 3 really kind of took from each other, where they went into like a park, SeaWorld kind of idea, and it just goes bad. But the other thing with Revenge of the Creature is that they made him a lot more sympathetic than they did in the first one. The first one, they're hunting him and they're messing up his territory, but he was killing people just because he didn't like them in the first film. Where the second film, he's completely kidnapped and they torture him and they do all these things, and then but they also show off his strength. Like, he can flip a car when he's out of the water. They talk about him going up and down the coast. He gets from Norfolk to Panama in like a day, so he's fast. But no, it was a good sequel, and it's not my favorite of the bunch. I think out of the 3 Universal films, I really liked Creature Walks Among Us, but I think the first one might hold true for me. Where I think with the Frankenstein series, I think Son of Frankenstein, the 3rd film, was actually my favorite. But I think with Creature, it's the first one, just because of what they created. All right, question time.
Okay, the last older question.
Last old question.
Yes, Stephen Har, for the next show, will Quasimodo appear?
Quasimodo, no, I won't be doing Quasi. Hunchback, one, he's not really a monster to me. He's just somebody with a deformity that gets forced into the monster world, like Felix and Frankenstein, and Bela Lugosi is Igor or Igor. It's funny how the Mel Brooks has destroyed my brain for that. For the like I still say Igor, even though I know it's Igor, but yeah.
And it's actually looked on as really a sequel.
Oh, it is. It's it's a sequel of Son of Frankenstein. Not so much the last one. It really is Son of Frankenstein versus oh man, I'm brain farting on what was the no, don't worry.
No, we're not.
Yeah.
Frankenstein. We're on Creature.
Yeah, the 4th Son of Frankenstein. Ghost of Frankenstein.
Okay.
Ghost of Frankenstein.
Come back.
Come back. It's not so much Ghost. It's definitely that. All right, what's our next film?
All right, so we went down that road. All right.
Yeah.
Revenge of the Creature. Next is Muckman.
What the hell was Muckman? Oh, Muckman was the movie that you showed up at the house.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah, that was a hard movie. Like that was the beginning of where I knew the waters were not warm. Where I started seeing the movies were not getting better as I was going through them. Muckman. I think the whole thing's on YouTube. You could just watch it there.
Yeah,
if you want. And if any of you who made the film hear this, because this has happened to me before, and we meet in person, I'm sorry. I'm sure you're great, but the movie just didn't win me over. It might win other people over, just didn't win me over.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a fan base for it. I mean,
maybe.
I'm sure there is. Alcohol was definitely involved in watching that.
Yeah, there's probably something out there. Muckman, I don't even remember. I think it was just like a creature lived in the forest and they were investigating it, and it just came out and started killing people. I think that was basically the story. Don't really recommend Muckman, but if you want to take the ride, I was so thorough in my studies that if it was listed and I hadn't seen it, I watched it just so I can get a full scale of each monster as best I can.
We have
we got a call in?
Coming. I got it ready for a song.
Oh, yeah. Well, all right. So we've got, go ahead and accept them. Get one there.
Let's try this.
So this is a special thing. John Birmingham has written a song called Creature from the Black Lagoon that he sent me on one of the earlier shows. But we're trying to get him in on Skype now to see if we can get him to play the song acoustically, I think, for you guys now.
Yeah, we just accepted, so it might take a minute or two.
Yeah, it might be. Well, let's get another question in while we're...
Sure.
Stephen Har would like to know, will the song Monster Mash appear in your Monster Mashup?
Yes. Not probably in the film, but I've definitely been considering, because you just kind of have to. And if all the rights fall into place for the song, I think the ending credits is somewhere I would definitely like to place the song, but probably a cover, not the Bobby Pickett version. I actually might record one myself and kind of have that as our closing credits or cast call at the end. How are we doing?
So far, nothing's coming in.
Is it actually him ringing, or is he just send a text?
Well, it's a text here. I'll just let you read it off.
All right, he says, oh yeah, he just sent a text. Just hit him, call him. And then
we're calling you.
We're calling you, my friend. just to make sure we get it connected.
People are.
Goes to another question while that's happening.
I have a comment from Stephen Har. I want the Gilman toy in the background.
Yeah, this was made by a buddy of mine, Christopher Duncan, who was the jester in some of my stuff, and he was Arbuckle in some of my the Skeleton Key films. If those of you who know that part of me, but yeah, that thing is awesome. It's like a plushy thing. He built it. It's like a Build-A-Bear, but they had it. It's really cool.
Hello.
Hey, John.
Hi.
Where were you? Oh, cool. Your video's loading. Hang on, it's a little.
Hey.
There we go.
Hey.
Hey, man. All right, so I'm going to introduce you to the audience and let you play your song.
You. I can't see you.
Are you sure?
Well, it's okay. We can see you.
John Johnson.
All right.
Oh, yeah, but that's all right. We can see you great.
Yeah.
All right, hey, give us 1 second. We're going to turn it around. All right, so this is...
I'm over at Danica DeCosto's house.
Okay.
She has a YouTube page.
Oh, we have to get closer. All right, so here we go. It's a little
She's getting
little
a lot
new
of
technology
people
here.
Famous.
Oh, it's
She
cool.
wants to be in your movies.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
All right, so we got you. All right, we got you live.
Okay.
Go ahead, my friend.
Okay, this is the first time I played this song in a long time. It's an original, and it's about the creature from the Black Lagoon. Here goes. Can you hear that all right?
Oh, yeah, it's coming through great.
Great. He's always out on the moon. He's out to get all the good. He's a creature from Black Lagoon. He's a creature from Black Lagoon. The night sky blackens slowly as the creature starts to rise. An innocent girl is moaning as the creature looks into her eyes. Is that? Do you have any more time for more?
No, do a little more. Why not?
Okay. 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 He's out to get all the goods. He's always out on the moon. He's the creature from the Black Lagoon. Okay, that.
Thanks,
came out
man.
good
Thank
for
you
that
so much.
time.
Where can they find the song?
Well, it's going to be released with my album pretty soon with my band Animals from Outer Space, and I have the whole album. I have the whole album produced and finished. I've produced it with Matthew Shively. He is a friend of mine that's a musician, and David Frost, and that's it. It's gonna be released pretty soon. You can check. My name's John Birmingham.
Okay.
John Birmingham. I'm a filmmaker and musician, and this is just one of the songs in the album. I haven't played that song for a long time, so that's just how it came out that one time. So,
Oh, no, it's great. Thank you so much.
yeah.
Well, cool. Well, then everybody check out John Birmingham's films, and his album will be available on iTunes.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you, John.
It'll be available on iTunes. Okay, great, John. Awesome of you to have me on the show.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much. It was very cool.
Yeah.
All right, man. We'll talk to you later.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Cool.
All right, so that was John. You can check out the song will be available on iTunes with his album, and yeah, it was kind of cool. Maybe I'll just see if I can get somebody else to write a song. And I don't know. If you tell me what you guys think of the Skype thing, because maybe we could start taking questions through Skype.
Actually, I have him still on right there. He's just in the corner.
Oh yeah, he's still there. Yeah, because maybe we could start doing that. I think this is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Is that Royce?
Yeah.
Maybe.
All right, so let's
Yes,
take
it's
the
me.
next. Let's take the next question.
This isn't a question, it's a request from Brittany Drew.
Okay,
I want to
Brittany.
see Royce Hobson's
Bye.
chest.
All right. Take care, Jeff.
What was it?
Brittany Drew has a request. I want to see Royce Hobson's chest.
Hang on.
Drum roll, please.
Do you know who this woman
Who
is?
this?
Brittany Drew.
Brittany Drew. Hello, Brittany.
Do you know Brittany?
I don't know.
Oh, he's.
I'm apologize if I don't. I'm not really good with names. If I see you, I might know who you are.
All right.
Do I owe you alimony? No. But this seems like something I should put up my PayPal account for.
Oh yeah, there you go. What
you
is
are
it? What
not,
is?
You are not her friend.
I'm not her friend.
Oh, so, okay.
Johnny
She
is
just.
and Mr. Lobo is.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you, Brittany.
Show
Show your chest.
Should I show?
Do it.
Show your chest.
Do it.
Show my
Show your chest.
Show my chest.
There we
This is some
are.
of my
Look at
chest.
this. It's very fluffy. It's very, very fluffy.
This thing can start a fire.
All right, now put that away. You're gonna kill us all. All right, thank you, Brittany, and that was a gift for everyone. All right, so what was the next movie?
All right. Where did we leave off? Oh, I know where we left off, because this is what I think is the gem of the movie research: Humanoids from the Deep.
Yeah, surprisingly, like that was we watched that together.
Yeah.
We have staycays where I don't have a lot of money to go spend like going on trips. So I work a lot. So what I do is I force myself to take 4 or 5 days and not work. However, I do watch my studies just because I got to do it anyway, and we have fun watching movies, and that's why I do what I do. So he came, and we started with Muckman, and or he came in the middle of Muckman, I think.
Yeah, because they were in the kitchen.
Yeah, very lucky, very lucky.
Lucky this time.
But then we watched Humanoids of the Deep, which actually was pretty cool. It was very B movie, of course, but it had a lot going on where a lot of the movies were very much similar. This was a very different kind of movie, and it definitely was a gem, which is really cool about the studies, is that I've kind of find like a new favorite film every time.
Well, this one was is a lot like Jaws. You could tell like
Oh
Jaws
yeah,
was
very
huge
influenced,
inspiration,
very influenced by Jaws.
for it. But there's a lot of raping
Mm.
in this movie.
Oh,
That's actually a common theme of all of these movies. The B movie Gilman is all about some women, like constantly trying to, whether it's breeding or falling in love, or it's just a running theme where more than any of the other monsters that I've seen, like he just really wants a woman for something sexual or love oriented. It's just a whole thing.
Kind of like King Kong in that way.
A little bit. There you go. Yeah, the Kong definitely had that. All right, what do we got for a question?
We have a link to Phantom of the Mall, Eric's Revenge from Steven.
Oh, good. I'll look at that later. Thank you, Stephen.
Okay, so I won't tell you now.
Oh, was
I
it?
looked it up on IMDb. He had a link to it.
Oh,
I
okay.
was going to tell you what it was.
Oh, tell me. Yeah.
Okay, a guy called Eric, duh,
Oh, yes.
owns a huge house, and some greedy people want to build a mall over it. So they get
Bastards.
someone to burn down his house. Eric is badly burned, but not dead. And
Moves
a year
into the mall.
later, the mall opens. What they don't realize is that Eric is living underneath the mall, and he's very angry.
Oh, that's kind of cool. It's a good revamping of it. That might
like
be
that.
fun. I really like there was another revamping that Robert Englund played the Phantom of the Opera in the 90s. And they kind of modernized the story a little bit. I'm actually like, that was one of the big things. Is I've read the book, which is never really been done. But it was one of the biggest misconceptions between Dracula and the Phantom. Dracula sleeps in a crate with his own earth because it makes him makes him stronger. Where the Phantom of the Opera slept in a coffin, and vampires, other than when they're dug up in a coffin, Dracula never slept in a coffin. But they put it in all the movies, but it actually was the Phantom of the Opera who slept in a coffin. All right, what's the next movie?
Next movie is Return of Swamp Thing.
Yes, this was you were there for that one.
Yeah.
That was the same. That was in December, I guess.
It was considered the worst of the two.
It was. I enjoyed it.
love it.
Yeah,
I
I
do.
mean, it's got a great soundtrack.
Yeah.
The score is really cool. It was definitely coming into its own. I definitely enjoyed it. It's very much B action kind of a thing. Like it wasn't. The first one was a lot more horror oriented, where this one was a little bit more just exploitive, crazy action, monsters fighting monsters kind of a thing. But no, I definitely enjoyed it. And we actually even contacted the composer trying to find the score, which apparently is getting released soon, like in the next few weeks, I think. And so we'll finally be able to have the score, which would be really, really cool. Because he was a super nice guy, and it was just fun to like the world that we live in now, where you can actually just find these people on Facebook and be like, "Hey, can I?" And they say, "Hey." Like, that was the conversation. It was just, "Hey, oh, hey."
And through that's probably the closest I will ever get to Heather Locklear.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now with the restraining order.
Yeah. Well, that's been lifted.
Oh, you've been good.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Or paperwork just gets unfiled.
I had to do some public apology things. I had to get on like BBC
Oh,
because it went all the way to England.
right.
It was the
Apparently,
thing.
you followed her quite a bit.
Well, first it was Adrienne Barbeau, and then that was back in the '90s, and I was coming to.
So yeah, okay, all right.
Not allowed in German.
Well, most of us aren't. All right. So I've got one thing. I've got a question here. From Jared Kearney. I'm going to play this for you, and I'll try to answer his question.
It's another quick question. How do you reconcile the disparity of dualism within the postmodern dissemblance of historical matriarchal dominance? I feel like that is actually somewhat relevant to the creature, believe it or not. Okay.
Yeah, he's absolutely right. It's the 50s obviously really kind of put women on the downslope, because obviously in the 60s they started burning their bras and making fights and getting angry, and because I think women were very strong in the 40s because they were so supportive of like all the men going to war, and they were the baseball league and all that kind of stuff. But in the 50s, for some reason, movies started treating women really, really badly.
Yeah, I don't get it. Melissa, can you give me another drink?
Yes, sir.
But yeah, no, it was interesting because I mean, you can in the creature movies, the women are talked down to constantly, and this just seems to be the nature of the beast, where the guys are like, "Oh, so silly." In fact, like even when they're wrong about science, because I remember in the second one, Revenge of the Creature, he's talking down to the woman, being intelligent. Like it's not like a mockery kind of a thing. They literally are like, the man is smarter than a woman. And he says, well, we all know when we go to sleep, our brains stop working, which I thought was hilarious because that was just 50s science. Like back then, that like no one had figured out, oh, yeah, we dream. But that means your brains are working. But yeah, but he was talking down to the woman scientist, which is interesting because they're not. I think later in the 80s and 90s, they really became more sexual objects, which upsets people. But this was more of a like just really kind of talked down to, which no wonder they got so pissed. But yeah, no, he's absolutely right. And the creature films are really kind of show the time period of that. I mean, obviously, I'm not saying everybody who worked in these films felt this way. It was just the nature of the storytelling at the time. And yeah, it was definitely interesting to see just something that was very dated, because when you look at the 30s and 40s, it's such a gothic story that it almost seems timeless. But the creature movies are really rooted in the 50s. Like you feel and you know it's the 50s, where you look at like Dracula or Frankenstein, and they're just so gothic and period that they almost seem timeless because it doesn't root to its time period as much as the creature movies do, which is interesting. It's kind of like the big revolution of B movies came from the creature and movies of that time. So what's a question?
Good answer.
Tommy Jarps has a comment and a question. Tommy says, "I'm drinking vodka while watching this." Smiley face.
Good, my friend.
Yes.
Good. What kind of vodka? Help me.
Still waiting on that drink.
Is it Smirnoff or I've recently gotten into Absolute because it's actually on my diet. I really like Absolute.
Yay for Absolute.
Yeah. This is actually just water.
And then his question is, what's the deal with Gilman?
Wow. The deal?
What's the deal?
What is the deal with Gilman?
Very wide net
Yeah.
question.
Well, he's getting in the political field, and I don't have a wise ass answer for that. I don't know. I mean, I guess maybe that's a general concept of what the Gilman is.
Maybe that Gilman.
Maybe
Or this guy. Are we talking about this guy? Further, follow us up with another answer to that, and we'll figure out exactly what you want.
So
Which
we're
one?
talking about Gilly, who was affiliated with Bill Cosby in the recent thing.
Oh no,
no,
no!
Don't
What-
say
that-
the
no,
PC words.
There's no pills. There's no pills behind me.
No.
Finish
What's the
your,
next movie?
finish
Next
your
movie.
drinks, gentlemen.
Oh,
I'm
waiting.
Well, after hours.
Okay. The next movie.
I think we're getting close to the end of the movie.
Yeah, because the next is Phantom from 10,000 Leagues.
Okay, this was another 50s oriented film where it was a ray of radiation that was being shot into the ocean, made a creature that ended up protecting the ray as kind of treating it as its mother. It was very low budget. It was, I think that one is also on YouTube. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't great either. Because it's just that B movie mentality where I guess that's what people wanted at that time, was they didn't care so much about it being like really, really good or characters, more just fun, drive-in movies. And I guess that's kind of what that movie was. It was okay for what it was, but I wouldn't recommend it as like a great film. All right, next question.
All right, we have 11 questions that we got quite a few.
Oh, we still got tons of movies too. We're
Okay, so we got stepped up.
step up.
Stephen R. Will the Wolfman be related to the Lawrence and John Talbot?
Talbot.
Talbot?
No. The Wolfman is obviously going to be a Wolfman, but I'm not going to relate it directly to the Universal movies because of that thing called copyright. But it definitely will be. There'll be nods to it, but not directly taken.
Be Talbot.
Well, there might be a Talbot character named in there somewhere. Also from another book series called Zombie Fallout that I'm a really big fan of that takes from Talbot as well. All right, so what next movie?
Next movie is The Creature That Walks Among Us.
The third and final Universal film thus far, really changing the whole story of actually taking the creature and evolving it to where it breathes, air. And it changed into kind of this big brute, which also on the scale of being strong kind of made this creature, once it transformed, as the strongest monster in the Universal library. Like, it was tearing fences down and throwing doors and like picking guys up and throwing them. Like, it was super, super strong, which I think was stronger than Boris Karloff and Strange and Lugosi's Frankenstein. It was crazy strong. But it was cool. It was cool to see that evolution and get into that kind of story where they're hunting the creature, and then it kind of gets into like really science fiction, more than horror, which I thought was cool. And then once again, making it very sympathetic, which was cool. Next question.
Stephen Har. Will there be any reference to Bride and Son of Frankenstein?
Not a direct reference. We're kind of basing more on the books than we are the movies, but there'll probably be something. It'll be a little seed to be planted, to be found on an adventure. All right, so I'm not going to play Johnny's full question because it's like 3 or 4 minutes long. But he brought up a really good topic in the gallery, the Peanut Gallery, that this is Johnny Sullivan's stuntman, was that Creature from the Black Lagoon versus not being a literary figure is also kind of spawned like the Honey Island creature, kind of like Bigfoot, where in like Louisiana and these territories, it's kind of looked at as like an urban legend that kind of came from the creature, which I thought was really, really interesting because, you know, there's not a whole, well, I mean, there's kind of like with Dracula's castle that he might be buried under the doorstep and things like that. But most of it's all based on literary stuff, where it not only spawned the pop culture that we see behind us, but it also kind of became an urban legend. Like it became like a Sasquatch. There's a lot of stuff on the I want to say it's the Honey Island Monster, I think is the name of it. It was like a swamp creature. That is, yeah, it's Honey Boo Boo Creature, monster thing of swamp too. But yeah, no, it was that was a cool idea that he brought up, that it does have a urban legend behind it now, which is kind of cool. And I came across that in my research. All right, so now, we got one more movie.
Oh, the movie. Yeah, I think this is the sequel to What Women Want, Man Thing.
Oh, no. Man Thing was interesting because obviously Swamp Thing was the DC's universe superhero swamp creature, and Man Thing was the Marvel version, which I believe came first, and Swamp Thing was sued and lost because Man Thing was original before. And yeah, the movie's a standard B movie, kind of dressed as a horror film, but not quite. I wouldn't highly recommend it, but it wasn't terrible. But just most of the movies of this field just were just that B movie thing. That was the last of my 10 movies for the study, and then we'll get into my additionals. Next question.
Okay, Stephen Haar, congrats on the Aussie release of Plan 9.
Thank you.
Not only am I looking forward to it, but I have it on pre-order.
Oh, thank you, Stephen. Yeah.
Yay.
So yeah, right. For those, my last big one, like House of Horrors, was called Plan 9, a remake of Plan 9 from Outer Space, which is available in Australia as the first country to release it. It is available now for pre-order, and February 19th gets its big release, and so that'll be exciting and terrifying. So look out for that. All right. So now my additional studies. Some of them are movies, but I try to take in a variety of as much as I can from as many different spectrums to go with my studies. So what was the first one on our list?
Your first one was Creature from the Black Lagoon, the musical.
That was amazing. Apparently Universal Studios in 2012 at their Halloween Horror Nights did a musical play of Creature from the Black Lagoon, which is adjusted quite a bit. It was kind of impressive. I think the only way to find it now is just like YouTube videos where you can see the whole thing. They obviously changed the ending quite a bit, but they did really high budget stuff. It was very well done so far as the production value is concerned. And that underwater scene I was talking about with the swimming, they actually did with wire work. And did it out over top of the audience, and then at the end, the creature for some reason turns into a giant and eats the girl. Spoiler alert. So that was a little weird, and they got into like a little bit more of the voodoo side of it. But it was very cool to see that, and I definitely enjoyed it. That was another gem, I think, in my studies. Next question.
Trauma rules. Who do you think will win the Super Bowl?
I don't know sports.
Is that soccer?
No,
football.
I think it's got the Seattle Supersonics in it this year.
Not me. I don't think I will win the Super Bowl. I apologize. I'm not. I was a kickboxer for many years, but that was the only sport I really got into.
I played chess.
That's not a sport,
Yeah,
or is it?
it could be in countries.
Yeah, it might be. Sorry, I do not know, but I definitely think that football will be much more interesting. Is their what's on the helmet? Their names, like the their what is it called? Like they have
like the
Raven-
Broncos,
the Broncos and stuff.
like that.
I think if it actually was those creatures
mascot.
playing the game, it would be
Right.
much more fun. But I don't know who would beat the Giants.
like the Washington Redskins would just be.
The actual
Oh.
Native
I
American,
just thought about
very
that
pissed
one.
off Native American
It'd be like football first.
people. But yeah, I think it'd be hard to beat the Giants. But I think it would be much more fun if like the Eagles versus the Ravens was just a bunch of fucking birds tearing each other up,
Yeah.
like
Then they'd all-
gladiator style.
They'd all change their mascots to be like
Mascots. That's what I was. Yeah,
the,
yeah,
the Washington Cannibals.
The,
I'd
the
watch-
Washingtonians.
I'd watch football.
I would
then.
just love it if they
Yeah.
if they would like put like some kind of like landmine traps out on the field and
Or
I think
bear traps.
tasers.
We
Oh
should
my
go
God,
back
bear
to, like,
trap. That would be so funny.
Yeah,
It would-
tigers on chains that only had a certain amount of radius.
So I think that's the idea. I think I will get more into football when they actually bring out the mascots as real creatures and have them fight each other.
Hmm.
That would be amazing. Otherwise, I apologize, but I think the best team will win. Whoever plays the best will probably win.
you got a 50-50 shot.
Yes.
Or who cheats the best, because now one of them is being accused of cheating.
You could
To
cheat
get
in
into-
football?
He deflates.
Oh,
they
sure.
deflate the footballs. So
Oh.
you can grab it better, and they're allowed to do it a little bit. But apparently, like after the guy who's the official football inspector,
Is it
after he
football?
left, then the football boy who takes those things.
These are
And-
official names.
This is, yeah, I heard it on the news this morning, and so it's Tom Brady and the little football boy who does that. And
Wow.
So those are the only two who would know about it. So it's deflated. So like when he either catches it or throws it out, I'm not sure.
I guess
which
it'd
one
be
he
easier
does.
to catch if it's
Yeah, and
more
it's like-
grippable.
It's all like deflated.
Son of
So
a
how is
bitch.
that fair?
Well, now I'm never
knew
going to
they
watch
did that, but
football because
apparently
this
they can-
shit's going on.
Yeah, so now it's like the big
The
controversy.
Don King in football.
Who would have thought?
All right, so next one of my additional studies.
Swamp Thing, the video game.
Oh God! All right, so I played it, and the additional studies kind of like hurts my face. I played the game, and I ended up putting a cheat code in it just so I could get through the story. It was very simple, very plain, kind of complicated because the jumps get a little weird, and like even with Infinity Lives and Invincible Thing, it still took me an hour to get through the game, just because if there was like levels where you jump and jump and jump and then you jump and jump and jump and then you jump and you fall, you got to start all over again, or you die and you got to start all over again. So there was a lot of that. Don't recommend. That was pretty awful. That was definitely phoned in and not great.
You don't have to know if LJN made that game,
Yeah, it's a reference to the epitome of James Rolfe's being. He's not a fan of
Pure
LJN.
hatred.
Yeah, he does not a fan. However, I will argue with him that I actually enjoyed the Jaws game.
I love it because I can actually beat it in 9 minutes flat.
Oh, you were talking about
Yeah.
that. Yeah, no, I
Yeah,
liked
okay.
it just because it's a fun game. But I think that was LJN.
It was.
I think so. But that one I'll
All the
argue.
big ones are like Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm
No,
Street.
those were awful. But I enjoyed Jaws.
Well, Friday the 13th had a nostalgic appeal to it.
It did, but no one has ever gotten anywhere in it.
I have.
You've beaten.
Yeah. Without Game Genie.
You've heard it here.
I can do it.
The
I
only
can-
man.
I can do it on camera if you
To,
like.
well, let us know if you want to see this, and we'll make a whole thing. His chest and that
Let's get
game.
Brittany in on this.
Brittany, yes, Brittany.
You'll see this.
Brittany
play
will be
some
the
Nintendo.
executive producer of the episode where we play Friday the
Shirtless
13th,
video games.
and he beats it and with the bare chest.
Hmm.
Next question.
That one Taco Bell guy.
I know you.
What movie of yours would you compare House of Horrors to? Also, the new trailer for Plan 9 is awesome.
Oh, well, thank you so much for the trailer. I'm glad you liked it. Hope you'll enjoy the movie. Really nothing. House of Horrors is kind of a new kind of... I mean, I made Alucard, which is a film that I think is available on Amazon Prime. The shorter version, the 2.5 hour version. There was a 4-hour version of the movie that I did, which was the novel Dracula, where I really treated the material as seriously as I could. So there's that. But no, not really. House of Horrors is kind of a new thing, which I'm very excited about. And most of my stuff is very different. You could tell a lot of time from the dialogue that it was written by me, but they are very different entities for the most part. There are some, of course, that are similar to others, but this will be the first time really getting into something like this, which is very exciting and very new. What else did I have in my additional studies?
Abbott and Costello meet the creature from the Black Lagoon.
This was a short film because they didn't actually get a feature done. I think the whole thing's available on YouTube. It was great. The old Abbott Costello, they meet pretty much every monster across the board. And we'll be taking those movies in, unless they're monster mashups, like Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein, which will be a whole other category. But this one had Frankenstein in it, which I didn't know when I sat down to watch it. Otherwise, I would have put it in my versus category because that's a whole other category. But no, it was fun. It was just once again, the creature didn't do much other than kind of come out and then they all run away from it. But it really was this iconic figure that people were attracted to, and not so much because of the story, just the look of the creature. And Abbott and Costello, it could have been any creature really in that scenario, but they were just hamming it up and having a good time with it. Next question.
Okay. All right, then we jump around here because they're all different spots.
Jump
They're all
around.
different spots.
Jump around. Jump up
around.
and up and copyright.
Let's see. Come visit Melbourne and you will get the chance, Johnny mate. You'll play Knifey Spoons, says Stephen R.
Knifey spoon. That sounds
Knifey
dangerous.
Spoons. And it must have something to do with South Park not South Park. The Simpsons, because there's like a little cartoon thing with Simpsons. So
I do. Hopefully,
that is.
hopefully, if the movie does well, I'll get to come to the island. However, I hear everything kills you, from the sharks, snakes, and spiders. I've worked with some Australians before on some of my films, and they tell me about all these horror stories where you guys have to like look under your toilet before you sit down, just in case there's not a spider there to bite you and make you really, really sick. So I'm terrified of the island, but if guys like you are there, it might be worth making the trip.
Fish that just looks like a
Scary
normal
motherfucker. You got
everyday
scary
rock.
shit. Like scary things on the island. But once again, if maybe if I just wear like a big metal suit and there's no holes, so I'll probably suffocate. I'll figure it out. Science. We'll figure it out. All right. Next additional study.
It's just your series of YouTube mini docs.
Yeah, so there's a lot of reviewers that have kind of gotten into like these little 10-minute documentaries on the creature from the Black Lagoon and its kind of legacy. And so I watched a bunch of those to just kind of get a feel, not only for the source material of what the creature is, but how he's viewed and how other people look at him. And so that was important, and to kind of get that feel of him. Because that's really the heartbeat of the creature. It's not the movies. It's that. So that was important to kind of pull in and to take in. And the docs are very interesting. If you just Google or YouTube "Creature from the Black Lagoon" and just start looking at the documentaries and reviews, there's a lot of cool stuff in there about learning of the history of horror, which is really nice.
Okay, Stephen Harris said Pauly Shore is in the Mall movie.
Oh, he's in the Eric,
He's in
the
that.
fan of the mall.
And also, what's new in store for Darkstone? What can we look forward to in the future?
Well, the House of Horrors is the next big one, but that won't be probably available for a while. But we're gonna keep everything going with like a web series. And on the web series thing, we actually have 3 shows that'll be airing this year. One is Spooky Tales from the Dark, which has been airing for a while. That'll keep going, which is urban legends and folklore. Grave Bit, which is our new show, which is a vampire show, but it's an ongoing story versus individual episodes, or not episodes, but individual stories. And then House on the Hill, the little mini series that we do, will probably keep going. So those 3, and they're all free, and they'll get posted in the Darkstone Entertainment group. Or if you email dflix@gmail.com and ask to be put on the mailing list, you'll get those, and they're all free, and they're just kind of to keep everything going. I do believe Skeleton Key 4 or 3 Part 2 will be coming out this year. So that'll happen for those SK fans, the big finale.
SK3P2?
Yeah, so that'll happen.
Done a lot of work.
There's a lot of stuff. Well, I don't know. I don't know. We're doing the pitch pilot for Transfers. We've shot it. It's almost complete. We're going to be handing it over in hopes to get a show, but we don't know. We'll see. Hopefully. That'd be great.
We need your voice, your help.
Not yet.
We might.
All right, but we'll talk about that later. Next thing on the additional studies.
Creature from the Black Lagoon. Black Lagoon slot game.
Yeah. So there's a slot
looks
game.
funny.
It's actually, you can play it for free online, and it was actually kind of fun. I mean, it's a slot game, but it has a lot of animations, and it's kind of just a remake of the first movie. It's really just based on that. But no, I had a lot of fun with it. And apparently, if you live in the UK or Australia, you can actually put money in and gamble, which I would have done. Not a whole lot, but I would have done a little just because it would have been fun just to do that. But if you look up, I think it's Net Entertainment, Creature from the Black Lagoon slot game. You can play it for free on your macro PC. So that was fun. It was just a good, like, kind of, I think I played it for about an hour just to get all the special things to, like, kind of get a feel for it. And I enjoyed it. It was very cool. It was one of the coolest franchise things, I think, came from Creature from the Black Lagoon. I think it's fairly new.
5-minute warning.
For...
Are we?
Oh, no, we'll go over a little bit.
Okay. Then never
We gotta
mind.
cover everything.
Never mind.
Okay, so next question.
Stephen Har, are you planning on doing any more remakes?
Not at the moment. I'm gonna keep to the original stuff as much as I can. I mean, if something pops up, you never say never. But at the moment, I'm not planning on any more remakes unless, you know, something happens outside of my focus at the moment. Additional study.
Back to Black Lagoon documentary.
That was a documentary that came out through Universal, which was cool because you really got a feel of what it was and how they put the movie together. It was very nice, and I didn't know that I was very new to it. I had seen the movie, but I didn't know Ben Chapman, and there was a guy who was the underwater creature, and then there was a guy who was the above water creature. The girl getting stitches, I think she hit her head on a rock. It was all these things you kind of learned of how these movies were put together, especially in the studio world of the 50s. Very, very different from now. So that was cool, and I'd recommend the documentary. It was definitely, to take it all in, it was fun. Next question.
The Lost Boys or Near Dark, The Howling, or An American Werewolf in London, says Stephen Hart.
Lost Boys over Near Dark. I love Near Dark, love Tim Thomerson, Bill Paxton, but Lost Boys was a really cool take on vampires. The other one is, I'm going to say American Werewolf in London just because I like the screenplay, but I definitely prefer the look of the werewolves of The Howling. But story-wise and character-wise, and of course the big wolf out scene defeats pretty much every wolf out scene that's come since. But I'll say American Werewolf in London and Lost Boys are my two. I'm very much 80s. Or I guess no, they were both 80s. Yeah. Additional study.
What's next? Dagon short story.
All right, so that was cool because obviously the humanoid fish monster kind of came from Lovecraft. There might be some earlier stuff that I did not find, but that was one of the earliest stories about it. And that was really cool because they go into description of the fish people that worship one of the old ones. But no, it was definitely fun. It was definitely cool. And I'd recommend the short story. I think it's even on YouTube. I think it's only 15 minutes, but if you get a chance to read it, it was quite cool. Question.
Okay. William Butler says, cool. Thank you, William.
Thank you, William.
Stephen Har, what do you think of Coppola's Dracula and Branagh's Frankenstein?
I like both films. I liked Frankenstein a little more than Coppola's Dracula, even though Coppola's Dracula kind of really, by calling it that, or calling it Bram Stoker's Dracula, it made people believe that Dracula was a love story, which it is not, the novel. And so I think that got a little confusing, so I don't like what it did to the take of Dracula, which is one of the reasons why I made Alucard to begin with. But I definitely like Kenneth Branagh's Frankenstein, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. That was fun. It stayed a little closer to the book, which was cool, but it was just really well done. And the Coppola version was also very well done as well. And I like some of the things that they did with it as a story. I just really wish they didn't call it Bram Stoker's Dracula, because even though it wasn't based on the play that most of the movies were, it was kind of its own thing. They definitely did change the heart of the story. So I think it would have been better if it wasn't called Bram Stoker's Dracula, because even though they added characters that are usually forgotten in the other movies, they really kind of missed the mark with that. Additional study.
Cinemassacre's History of Horror Creature from the Black Lagoon.
A buddy of mine, James Rolfe, known as the Angry Video Game Nerd, is pretty much a film horror historian. So I've been leaning on him a lot for my studies, and he's pretty much made a video or 8 about each one of the Universal monsters. So I watched his History of Horror, and of course I learned something, as I always do when encountering James, and something about the horror history. He's just really, really knowledgeable, and definitely a great resource for me in doing this. So that was fantastic. Question.
Oh. I just lost the question. Wait, talk about something else. Sing your song or something.
La da diddle doo, la da diddle.
See, he was drinking water.
Be funny.
Oh wait, got something.
Ah.
Yeah, now you don't have to drink. Rhonda Hicken.
Oh,
Yes. Rhonda.
hello, Rhonda. It's good to have a female in here right now. That isn't just after his chest.
Come on, Rodney.
Well, Rhonda, you might
Now
want
I
to.
just pause it again.
And she'll have to be funny.
Wait, here
Okay.
we go. I got
Damn it.
it. Hey, you. Why is Frankenstein's blood always green?
I don't know.
Is it green?
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm guessing they're just doing the green because of the color of the original makeup that was black and white, but it was green in some of the pictures, so that became Frankenstein being green.
Maybe he's jealous.
Maybe just replace the blood with something else that keeps.
I think it's just the undead, like just kind of making him different. I don't think in the novel
Typical
his
green
blood
monkey.
was different than just. Well, I'm not sure he really bled too much, but I think it would just be red like everybody else's. But no, it's probably just because they're trying to make him more of a monster and different from human, so that's why he had green blood. That's my guess. It depends on what movie you're talking about.
Dehumanize him as much as possible.
Yeah, to make him separate. Additional
Next.
study.
Huh, you sure you want to open this can of worms?
Is it the TV series?
Swamp Thing, the TV series.
God damn it.
I experienced a little bit of this with him.
Wait,
Oh.
you feel, where are you going?
Ow!
You got a great kazoo?
All right, so
You're not going anywhere, little mister.
Swamp
it.
Thing, the TV series, I had to do because it was the TV series based on Creature from the Black Lagoon indirectly. This series is so weird, and so I mean there were good moments, and I really liked the guy playing Arcane. He was amazing.
Mark Lindsay Chapman.
Yeah, I think it was top billing
Yeah.
over the monster.
Yeah, Dick Durek was the last.
Yeah, he was the and. But no, it was. I mean, there was like a character. There was a little boy in the first season who just gets sold into slavery, and he was a main character, and they never bring him back.
It's your mission, Alyssa. Find out what happened to Jim Kipp.
It was.
Okay.
It was so weird, and like I watched all the first season and a lot of second season. I did not finish it. I did not get into third season because it was actually kind of hard to find. But I read the episode summaries of the third season or some of them because I was trying to find out about Jim Kipp and why they just sold this boy into slavery and then never came back to it.
Still there.
And in fact, the mother, 2 episodes later, is completely over the fact that her son, well, she thinks her son is dead. And she just gets over it real quick. And
The dude is our age now.
I mean, and it's also weird because the show is like a cartoon where like the villain, there's one villain and one hero. And every episode, the villain tries something and the hero stops him. But at the end of it, he's just like, I'll kill you next time. He's like, I'll see you tomorrow with my new plan. And it was just, it felt so detached from reality. And there was like this girl who shot the mother and Swamp Thing brought her back to life. And then she goes out into a field and a pig man shoots her and she dies. No explanation of any of this. And I think her last words was, this is a horrible place to die. Credits. Like, and there's no explanation of that. And then there was another man who wanted to pluck a flower, so he drew a gun and shot it. It was just so surreal, and I really devoted because I just wasn't gonna let it beat me. My wife started hating me. He drank more. Like I couldn't stop watching it because I just needed to know everything. And then eventually I finally just read the synopsises and decided to bail. So I have not seen all of it, but I watched the first season and almost all of the second season. And if you really want to do something weird, like if you want to take drugs but not really take drugs, watch Swamp Thing.
Yeah,
Because I think it's like seeing the world through a kaleidoscope.
even Swamp Thing had to take drugs in that show.
We
There's
never
a
saw the
show-
episode,
no,
but apparently he started. What was it?
he's
It was
addicted to iguana eggs.
iguana eggs,
That cause him to hallucinate.
and he wouldn't stop taking it. Swamp Thing. Next question.
Kenneth Tabor's in the
Hey,
house.
I haven't heard from you this time until now.
Why do you feel it is important to study each character so in depth?
Because I don't want any of the monsters to feel like I like them more when I do the series. I want each monster. I think a lot of times when you watch these monster mashups, you can kind of tell that the creator and writer or director really liked one monster more than all the other ones. And most of them. And so I want to try to get each one to feel like they're a part of the story just as much as everybody else. So I really want to take the time to get to know each monster. Because, I mean, to be honest, I didn't like Frankenstein's monsters so much. He wasn't one of my favorites. But now that I've done my study, I've just grown this respect for him and where he came from. And now he's definitely up there. And so it's really to kind of take in what they are to society, what they are to pop culture, what they are to history, what they are to the literary figures that they are. And then at the same time, kind of take them somewhere they haven't been before. And so I want each monster to feel fleshed. I don't want a phoned in monster. So I want each one to have something that relates to something they've been in before and taking them somewhere new. So that's why I really do just diving into this. Additional study.
The Legend of the Honey Island Swamp Monster.
This is the documentary. Does it say doc?
is.
This was hard to watch because it was a documentary about this, which Johnny Sullivan brought up, a Sasquatch-like creature, but they added all this music and sound effects as if the creature was really there, but it was supposed to be a documentary, and all these drunk people with cigarettes were telling the stories of how they saw the Don't watch it.
You're welcome.
It's on Amazon. I paid money.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, if I meet you and you've made this movie and I am so sorry, it just didn't win. It wasn't there for me. It was made obviously for somebody else. That's not me. But I wanted to, it was part of this thing where it's just not only is the Creature from the Black Lagoon pop culture and all these things, but he also had this urban legend where none of the other monsters do. So I really wanted to get into that. And the only documentary was this Honey Island monster creature thing. And I almost went straight edge again just from watching it.
Save us.
Time for a question.
Question.
That one Taco Bell guy.
Yeah.
If you could pick any currently working actors to play the monsters,
Ooh.
who would you cast? Which monster and why?
Well, that's a lot. Yeah, we'd have to kind of go through like each monster at a time. Because there's two levels of that for me. One, there is if you could pick anybody, and then who would I pick? There's so many. I think there's some that I would pick just because I'd want to see what it was like Jeff Goldblum as Dracula, like just to see what that would be like.
That would be amazing.
John Rhys Davies as Frankenstein's monster. But then I also have the Darkstone crew where I look at like the guys I work with often and like who would I put in it? But you're trying not to give away too much too soon, or because you never know what name actors are going to get involved with the project, because we usually have to have a couple, B-movie and so on. So I don't know who everybody's going to be. So that's a dangerous subject, but I am thinking about it all the time. Additional study.
Bog.
Bog. It's pretty much like all the other horror movies. I actually owned it. I was given to me as a gift, and I never watched it. I had it on VHS, which was the best thing about that was that it was one of the old VHSs that came in like the Disney box that Disney kind of took over, like the little plastic thing. And then at the end, if you just let it play, it wakes you up, going like, ooh. Like, that hasn't happened to me since, like, static television, which I always thought was ants having a pillow fight. But, like, it woke me up, and I literally felt like I was, like, 1993 or earlier. So that was kind of cool. So that was a nice experience. That also kind of gave something away that I fell asleep during the movie, but I did go back and finish what I had missed the next day. But Bog was kind of like all the others. Nothing really special. Just bad horror movie stuff. Question.
Kenneth Tabor.
Kenneth.
Woo! Is there anything about the creature you found in your research that created a eureka idea? Something you maybe thought was beyond cool?
Yes. And I can't answer that because it'll give too much away. But if you look at my studies and the 25 things that I did, there is one that basically just made the creature in my mind and how it's going to be. Now there's some odes and stuff where the creature is always attached or wanting a woman. So that obviously has to come across in the story because that is the most important thing that all of these movies have in common. So there's that. But then there was something else that I actually am going to take from one additional study more than any of the others. And that's all I'll say. Because I don't want to give it away. It's going to be a whole thing. But you'll know that I said this now, and you'll be able to go back and find out what I was talking about. And it's a whole thing. This was it.
Do you remember the top 3 videos in your Google search?
Yeah, it was a lot of it was pop culture stuff like a pinball machine.
Mm-hmm.
And Elvira hosted a short 10-minute video talking about collectibles. And then I watched like a Cramps video.
Oh, that's the song I was telling you.
The Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yeah.
So I watched
Black Leather Lagoon, yeah.
Yeah, I watched that, which
awesome.
That's
what you were gonna say.
We're
Right?
awesome. We're gonna say awesome.
The video itself.
I have not done enough drugs.
Love the Cramps.
I really enjoyed the Cramps, but the videos.
Well, yeah.
He was with me when this happened.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, so
They're not for everyone.
to keep up with like the modern society and way things go, I'd look at the top 3 Google videos or that I haven't seen that aren't just trailers for the movie, and then the same thing on a YouTube search. And so yeah, it was good, but most of it was about pop culture. Question.
Rhonda Hicken.
Rhonda.
The Legend of Sleepy Hollow.
No, not going to be one of the famous monsters. Definitely a cool one, and it has a whole thing. And maybe one day I'll dive into a story that's more concerning that, but not one of the famous monsters. I'm pretty certain that and the Phantom of the Opera are not. Those are off the list as of now. But you never know. But right now, I know they sit in the corner and cry. Additional Jim Henson's Creature Shot. All right, so we watched with my wife. We, as in both of my eyes, watched with my wife. I guess it was a part. Jim Henson had a show. I hadn't really seen it before. Kind of like Face Off, and except they're building puppets, but they did one on creatures. So I wanted to kind of see what their ideas of creatures were, and maybe ideas for the way I want my creature to look. And that was cool. It was cool to see the stuff that they created and just how amazing Brian Henson is. And that legacy. So that was cool. Question.
Kenneth, which medium you think influences your imagination more, books or movies?
Movies. It's just my field. Books, definitely. Books can inspire an idea. Movies inspire a feeling for me. So I might have like that seed off of a story, and a movie and music kind of flesh it out into the emotion of it. But I definitely say my biggest influence is movies, obviously being my main medium, but I love them all, from music, short stories, radio dramas, everything. But I would say movies at top. Additional.
The crown jewel of this list that has taken, I don't know how many years off your life, but it's taken at least 5 off of mine.
The Slithis?
Slithis. Spawn of the Slithis.
Okay, so that was the last one. I couldn't find it at all. Like I couldn't torrent it. I couldn't, like, nobody had it on any streaming thing anywhere until by happenstance we plug in the Xbox and there's something called Fright Picks, which is this app that's new that just has tons of horror movies on it. And right there, I spent days looking for this thing. It was right there.
In your face.
And they really want you to buy lobster and or shrimp from Red Lobster because that advertisement played every 10 minutes. And if you fast forward or rewind at all, you get that shrimp ad again.
Start over.
Or have to start the whole thing. The app wasn't exactly the greatest. It had a little problems getting all the stuff going. But we watched the movie.
It's new. It'll
What did you think of the movie?
The movie itself, I still don't know what the hell happened.
It was a creature.
No, I mean, I get the general formula of it. The creature had to be defeated. Bam. Oh, yeah, people. I don't get what the hell.
The best acting.
Oh, the lieutenant.
The lieutenant. Whoever this man was, no one told him he wasn't making a Jim Carrey film because he was so over the top where no one else was playing that. And they have these shots of the lead actor just looking at him. Like, he would say a line and the lead actor's just this blank stare. That guy was amazing, who apparently was also in Blade Runner, which I didn't know. Because he doesn't look the same as he does in this movie. But that was cool. That was amazing. It was fun. Slithis is one of those really bad movies, but I had to do 15 things at minimum, additional studies and 10 movies. And that was the last one, which I did today before the show.
Didn't somebody recommend it?
That's how we found it. Somebody,
Yeah,
because it is technically a Creature from the Black Lagoon movie, so he was right. It's just not a great movie.
You're not going to believe this, and this is in bad taste, and I apologize, but I'm being serious when I say this. I thought maybe as a treat I would type in Slithis and see if I can get a clip of this lieutenant.
Right.
I type in Slithis, and the first thing that comes up is Robin Williams hanged himself with belt.
Oh, I think one of the cops' names or something like that. No, I caught that too in
Really?
the search. Yeah.
Oh.
There's like a cop or something with the name Slithis. It was like, it was really demented and like it happened to me too in the search.
Yeah.
When I was looking it up. I don't understand the connection, but it's somewhere in there. Question.
Kenneth Tabor,
Kenneth.
have you had messed up dreams about these creatures since delving into your research?
Not yet, but I'm hoping. I actually I don't dream as much anymore, but I really want to, and because I like.
That sounds so sad.
Because so many great ideas could come from my subconscious, but for some reason he's angry at me right now. I didn't take out the garbage and this whole thing. But no, I'd really, really like to, and that pretty much sums up all my studies, right?
That's it. That's the study.
All right, so that is all my additional studies. That is all my movies. We are finished up with all the Voxes. Do we have a question?
We're finished with the questions.
We are finished with the questions. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching the show. That was kind of like Christopher Walken with like something in his butt.
Yeah.
Ow! Ow! So yeah, I don't know where that came from, but that'll maybe be an influence. So this is the end of the Gill Man. We're done with the Gill Man. I will announce now the next monster I will be dealing with is Hyde. Was that a...
I was going to drum roll you, but man, fuck it.
No, do it.
No.
Rick roll him
It's gone,
instead.
I'll roll them in the parking lot. How much money you get?
Yeah. Well, I won a little bit from you in the gamble.
You're right.
Oh.
Well, we can go to
All right.
well, we can go to the mall. We can get it back.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We go
From Stacker.
Blue Box. We didn't know the game was rigged, and he spent $65 on it because we just figured it's going to happen because he was winning. He was doing it. He beat the game. But don't do it because it's kind of like a cash out.
Stacker.
You waited too long. You have a question.
One question. Last question.
Kenneth Tabor,
Kenneth, tell me about it.
are you going to be at Mysticon? Also, thank you so much for being so available and sharing your journey.
Oh, thank you. That's awesome.
Hell
I'm
yeah.
good. Thank you for joining me on this. I think I am going to be at Mysticon. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I think I'm going to be there. We haven't. It's the end of February, I think. I think so. I think I've got my hotel scheduled, but we haven't gone over anything. So I'm gonna be there. I don't know what I'm gonna be doing, but I'm definitely gonna be there. Maybe just having a sandwich. They have really good clam chowder
Yes.
in the bar.
Yeah, the bar restaurant.
The bar restaurant. Yeah, that's real. So I'll be having that a lot. All right, guys. So that's it for the Gill Man. The next monster is going to be the creature. Oh no,
Hyde.
Jekyll.
Hyde.
Well, Hyde. Not really dealing with Jekyll, but dealing with Hyde. And I'm gonna post something to get ideas for movies from you guys, and I'm gonna start a whole list again, and we'll post it. We're gonna do 3 regular shows, and then the big finale like this. So that was Frankenstein done. The Creature of the Black Lagoon done. And I probably have like 6 or 7 more, but fuck it. And then we're gonna do versus movies and then monster mashups, which are more than 3 or more. But thanks, guys, and I will see you guys on the next show. Get with me on Facebook, and I will fill you in on what's coming up next.
Brittany.